Let's see. Well, today I'm going to cover the SiRenkoCounter here real quick, and then we'll jump into your guys' questions. So in the meantime, I'll cover the SiRenkoCounter. So this is a new indicator that came out with the update that we just had, right? The 1.210 update. Admittedly, it did get left off the update list. It's just one of those things that just kind of slipped on by. Yeah, I made a discovery yesterday. So I'm sure you guys remember from last week, right? I was working on the charts, and all of a sudden, my chart data just disappeared, right? The bars disappeared, and about half of you guys, all recognize it as having that same problem on your end. Well, I think I found the solution here. So I was working with Lisa over at Intentional Trader, and I told her about this. I don't know, somehow we brought it up, and she said that she has not noticed that issue at all. And so I asked her what version of NinjaTrader she's on, and come to find out she's on an old version of NinjaTrader that apparently does not have that problem. So she's on NinjaTrader 7, NinjaTrader 7 point, whatever, blah blah blah, something, 21. So she's on release 21. Right, that's the critical version. And I checked my version of NinjaTrader, and I'm on version 22. So if you guys are able to go back to version 21, apparently that version doesn't have the problem with the chart data disappearing. Before you go back to version 21, you might want to check to see who your data provider is, because I remember, just what I remember off the top of my head when I was reading through all the, the update list of all the various versions from somewhere around version 2021 to current. Most of the updates have been regarding the data feed connection issues. So you might want to really, read those update notices to see what's been fixed regarding the data connections and stuff, and see if any of that applies to your data feed provider. So, all right. So yeah, so that's good news. I think hopefully later on I'm gonna revert my NinjaTrader for this workshop back to version 21 sometime later on. And let's see, Leo says he has version 25 and he doesn't have that kind of problem. Yeah, well, this issue is just kind of hit or miss, very intermittent. I think I've only seen it once so far on my workshop VMware. So I do encounter it a little more on my other VMwares where I do have version 24 or 25 installed. So yeah, it's one of those little erroneous issues there, Leo. All right. Oh, nice. Thank you, Al. So Al has a suggestion to help with so that issue where the chart, the bars on the chart just all disappear. So Al says that he reset his database, or he started a new database. So he cleared out his database, started a new one, and he reinstalled NinjaTrader, and it seems to be helping for the moment. So good. All right. I hope that solves it, Al. So let's see. I'm gonna slaughter your name here. Sanjeev, I believe. I hope I got that right. He's got a good question here. So we have looks like we have a couple of new people. So Sanjeev is new, and his question is says, I'm new here. Can BloodHound perform different exits per contract? For example, one fixed exit and one trailing. Technically no, and technically that would be Raven. And well, BloodHound could, but it's really up to Raven. So Raven is the strategy component, and so entering a trade and exiting a trade is actually done inside of your strategy here, right? So you have your data series class, which is right the bars on the chart. You have your indicator class, and then you have a strategies class. So the strategies class is what actually gets you into a trade and closes you out of a trade. So as I bring up my strategies window, right, we have Raven. So Raven is what actually takes your BloodHound signals and and enters you into a trade and closes you out of a trade. And so right now, Raven is just a free complimentary strategy that comes with BloodHound, so you can do some some testing with what you got. And right now, Raven has just one profit target and one stop loss. Just a fixed. Well, actually, the stop loss could be trailing if you want to turn it on. However, there is an option here. So Raven can use an ATM. So Sanjeev, if you can program your one fixed stop loss, your one fixed exit, or well, I guess that would be a profit target, and then use an ATM strategy to define your trailing stop, then yes, you can. However, keep in mind, most people don't know this about NinjaTrader, but NinjaTrader is not able to backtest their ATMs. So, so you have to forward test it on live data, or you would have to use the market replay data connection to backtest an ATM. So yes, all right. So Sanjeev is asking if he can just use one of his existing ATMs, and yes, that's correct, Sanjeev. So the ATM has to be defined and saved first before you can use it in Raven. So so you know what? So I'm going to kind of demonstrate how to use the SiRenkoCounter inside of BloodHound. So it has functionality, so it can actually be used inside of BloodHound. And so I'll incorporate these various Raven questions into using the SiRenkoCounter, and how you can use the SiRenkoCounter inside of BloodHound, and which would be inside of Raven as well. So I'll try and kind of mesh all these questions together here. All right, so let's see. The first thing to know about the SiRenkoCounter is it works on 4 different bar types. So if you read the help label down here, you can see it says this indicator will only work on the Pro Renko, the backtest Renko, the regular Renko, right? So NinjaTrader's Renko and the NinjaTrader range bars. So this will work on those 4 bar types. And we can see here I have a 10 range chart. And let me shrink this up to try and maximize the bars here. Right. So we're watching a live data feed on oil, and so on a range bar, right? I set this to a 10 range, so we can actually watch these closing prices move. If you watch this, you'll actually see that as a range bar starts moving towards one end of the bar, you'll see that the price values start to shrink, because as a 10 range bar, the range at which the bar can close at starts to shrink as well. So hopefully oil will come back down, and we'll see the upper range level will start to shrink back down if price continues to move down. Or if price begins to move up, the lower range will move up. And looks like price is just going to oscillate. Alright, so since it's not going to work with me, alright, well, I'll give it one last chance here. Maybe price of oil is going to move down. So if oil ticks down one more, you'll see that you just saw the upper level, and now you can see it's red. See how the line is flashing red? And the R, so the R is the amount of ticks left. So this R value tells you the range in ticks that are left before the bar will close. So right now, price has 6 more ticks to move down, 7 more ticks to move down towards the bottom before the range bar will close. And if price moved up, you would notice that the R actually is up on the top, telling you that, you know, the closing price has so many ticks. Like right there we go. So alright, so now we have 4 ticks left for price to move up, and the bar will close. So that's what the R is telling you, is how many ticks are left before price actually touches this value here, right? Touches that line, and that line, and the text there tells you what the price level is of that line. Right, so that's kind of the core of what this is doing, of what the range counter does, right? Just it marks where the bar is going to close. And so right, on a range bar, you know, these values are always adjusting because that's just the nature of a range bar. All right, let's take a look at the actual indicator settings here. And I'll shrink this down a little bit. All right, so the first indicator setting we have here is the show prices. So we can turn the prices on and off, right? So we can turn the text on and off. So if I set that to false, hit apply, and you can see it turns the text off, but the lines are still there. Turn that back on. Now you can change the color of the text, right? So I had to, by default it's set to black, but of course I'm on a black chart, so you couldn't see the text, so I just changed it to like a light gray, like so. And you can also change the size, so I can crank this up to 20 points and hit apply, and the text got, you know, really big there. So how about I'll leave it at 20 ticks, and I'll make it really easy for you guys to see. And of course you can pick the font style that you want. You know, just a lot of font features that actually is built into C#, the C# language. So, all right, now you're gonna want to leave this calculate on bar close set to false, right? It's defaulted to that, and actually if you set it to true, it's going to force itself back to false. So this indicator always has to run on false, so that way it updates itself on every incoming tick data. All right, so it has to update itself as the bar is building, so this has to be left on false. Let's see. Well, this stuff is NinjaTrader. These are all NinjaTrader settings, right? That comes with every. That's a part of every indicator. I don't think anything in here really affects anything. You know, you'll see up here it says SiRenkoCounter. So some of you guys don't actually like to see that. So you can clear that, hit apply, and now you can see it here on my chart. That label is gone now. So you can do that if you want. I'm going to put it back on there. Alright, so now there's a couple of options here under lines. Okay, so we have this default color, and so this is the color of the red line. So you see that, well, now it's the gray line here. So you see the gray line, so I can actually change the color of that line if I want. So how about if I go and pick a blue there, hit apply, and now that line is blue. I can change the thickness of that line. I'll make it something crazy here and hit apply, and you can see it got a lot thicker now. So I'll just set that back to 3. Now here's one, the warning color. Now this one has a little more use to it. So right, once again I can change the thickness, change the color, right? So as you might have determined by now, that when price, you know, comes, basically when price gets within 1 tick of closing the bar, you'd notice that the R text turned red and also the line turned red as well. Now if I want to, right now a value of 1 means price has to come within 1 tick of closing the bar before it turns red, before you get the warning color. If I want, I can set this to 3 and it's going to turn red. The warning color is going to turn red. So now you can see it's red and it says 2. So whenever price is within 3 ticks of closing the bar, I get a warning color. So yeah, it was just 3 just then. Let's see, maybe price will back up for us. 0, so 2. Well, if price pulls back 1 more, we'll see it'll be at 3 and it's red. So 4, yeah, 3, there we go. 4, it went back to white. 3, it's red. So you can adjust the number of ticks before the bar closes to get this warning sign, this warning color, I should say. Alright, so I'm going to just set that back to 1. And the BetterRenko touch price, well, as the name implies, this only applies to the BetterRenko because of its different calculation logic for closing the bar. So we'll have to wait till I put the BetterRenkos on the chart to actually show what this does here. So we'll come back to this setting here later on here in just a moment. Let's see. Okay, let me make a few adjustments to my chart. So a couple other things to know, right? If you want to prevent the text from going off the chart, you have to change your chart properties. All right, so once again, I just right click on the chart, go down to properties, and this is your chart properties, right? So my chart is basically almost a black, and we have this right side margin, so I need to increase that margin to, let's try 80. Yep. Here, I'll shrink it up a little bit. Let's try 50. Nope. Alright, 60 ought to do it. There we go, 60 is enough margin. And now I can see all of my text. Something else that you might want to adjust is you have to right click inside the price area. Right, so this price area over here, I know my cursor kind of disappears, but in this area over here, there's a properties inside the price section. And let's see, oh, that's right. I have it set to fixed right now, so let me take it off of fixed. So now it's free floating. And you notice how I have this big margin area on the upper part of the chart and on the lower part of the chart. So what happens is when, like in this instance where price is near the top of the chart, right, what will happen is your text here, like the R text, will sometimes float off up to the top of the chart, and NinjaTrader doesn't automatically, shrink your chart area to fit the text in. So text is a little unique. So what I had to do is I go into the properties here of the price area, and you'll see there's a margin type, and it's set to percent, and I had to crank my percentage all the way up to 40%. Normally this value is down to 3, so if I shrink this down to 3, hit apply, right? You see how the top end of the bars are near the top of the chart, and these bottom bars are near the bottom of the chart area. And what'll happen is if price had moved down even more, this text, the 85.66, would be off of the chart. You wouldn't actually be able to see it. So in order to be able to see the text when price is all the way at the bottom of the chart or all the way at the top of the chart, you just need to increase your margin area here. So I'm going to set it back to 40. Seems like 40 is a little excessive, but gets the job done. Let's see. All right, so now let me demonstrate this on a couple of the other bar types here. So let's build a 10 Renko chart. All right, so 10 Renko chart. Same thing. 10 Renko chart. Renko charts, the closing price of the bar never moves on a Renko, so these prices are going to be fixed and they're never going to move. And so let's see if price keeps coming up here. Well, just wondering if price is going to move up here and close this for us. I'm going to go in and change my warning color. I'm going to change the warning to a 2-tick warning, so we actually get a warning when the bar is 2 ticks away from closing. So let's see. Alright, well, price isn't working with this, so I'll just move on to another bar type here. Alright, so next I'll show you guys the backtest Renko. And alright, so let's see, a 5 and 2 and 10, good enough. I'll just accept those. So you can see right now we're 1 tick away from closing the bar, and so it turned red on us. And alright, 3 ticks away. If price moves up 1 more tick, we'll be 2 ticks away from closing the bar, and the text will turn red on us. There we go, 2 ticks away, and it gave us the warning color. That's close to closing, and it just closed. There we go. Alright. Now I'll show you the Pro Renko. So the Pro Renko is a little different from the other bar types. There's an extra value, or there's an extra line that shows up. So, it's a little difficult to see, but there's a line actually underneath the text here. And actually, I need to make the text a little smaller so you can actually see the line underneath it. So let me change the text back down to a 10-point text. There we go. Okay, so now you can see the dashed white line, right? So the red line or the blue line, that actually shows you where the bar is going to close, right? But the dashed white line shows you where price actually has to touch before the bar is closed, right? So that's part of the unique difference of the Pro Renko bar, is that price actually has to move one tick past where the bar will close before the bar actually does close. And so that's what the dashed line is going to show you there. And that's what this this third line setting is for. So under the line section, right, we have the Pro Renko number 3, and we can change the settings for that. So if I want to make that a little thicker, make it easier to see, all right, I can change the width to 5, and now those dotted lines are a little easier to see now. So, all right, so the blue line is where the bar is the price that the bar actually closes on, and the dashed white line is where price actually has to touch before the bar closes. So let's see. All right, so to illustrate, all right, price is moving a little too fast. So you can see I've got the arrow where the bar will close and the triangle where price has to touch. So hopefully price will come down and close this bar. Well, maybe it's going to reverse on us. All right, I got both areas marked. So we'll wait for this one bar to close here, and actually, I guess I don't need that square. All right, good. Maybe hopefully price will come up and reverse on us and close upward. There we go. Okay, yeah, so you can see the white arrow I drew here, right? It identified the closing price of the bar, and we can see the red triangle is one tick above it, right? So we can see that the bar didn't actually close where the red triangle is, so the bar doesn't actually close where these white dotted lines are. It closes where, right, the solid line is. But price had to come up and touch the red triangle in order to close the Pro Renko bar. So, all right. Okay, so let me show you how we can use this actually inside of BloodHound now. So since this indicator requires calculate on bar close to be false in order to use it, right? Because you're actually working on the bar as it's building in real time. You're not working on the previous bar, right? So calculate on bar, oops, let's see, the Pro Renko, here we go, the Renko counter, right? Calculate on bar close is false. Well, so to use this indicator in BloodHound also would have to be set to false. Now, keep in mind, when you set this to false, your indicator inside of NinjaTrader will act a lot different, right? Your indicators are calculated in real time, and of course then BloodHound calculates stuff in real time. So you're going to get different behavior, out of BloodHound. So if you need help understanding what how this affects indicators and strategies, NinjaTrader, right, has a help guide section on this, and you can talk to the folks over at NinjaTraders, and they can help you understand what this is actually doing, because this has a wide range of effects on an indicator and on a strategy. So when you're dealing with a complex indicator like BloodHound or a strategy, right, there can be a lot of different effects that happen. So all right, so to back up a little bit, right, I'm setting BloodHound to false in order to be able to use the BetterRenko here, the SiRenkoCounter. So let me click OK. Change those settings for BloodHound. And let me give my BloodHound template a name. And let's see, need to decide on which solver I want to use to actually so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have BloodHound detect when the Renko counter hits that warning, hits its warning label, right? So when the text turns red and we're in that warning area, we can actually detect that. And I think I'm going to use the threshold solver to detect that. Alright, so I'll give my solver a name, and next I'll change my indicator to the Renko counter. So I'll jump down to the S's, and there it is. Alright, add it down to the bottom here. Alright, so you can either double click on an indicator to add it down there, or you can just hit the add new button and it adds it down there. And so you'll notice inside of BloodHound there's some extra information here. So we have a bool series that tells us when we're in the warning zone, in the warning area. So when essentially when if we set our warning to 2 ticks, notification, then when price comes within 2 ticks of closing the bar, this bool series will be set to true. So this is going to be the easiest way to do that. So I'll just set set the warning here, and I also have to go in here and adjust my indicator settings. So if I remember, I believe on the chart I set my warning to a 2 tick warning, so I'll set this to 2. Oops. Sorry, actually I don't. It's not the width, I'm sorry, it's the value. I need to set the value to 2. So the width and the color, have no effect inside of BloodHound. Only the value actually has an effect inside of BloodHound. So we'll set that to 2. And now let me back up. So this is a bool series. So a boolean, bool is short for boolean, which means true or false. So if price comes within this warning area, then the warning signal becomes true. It becomes a true state. Otherwise it's going to be false. And so in computer language, a bool is either a 0 or 1. It's either 0 or 1. So I'm going to make sure that when it's true, right, when it's true, that bool series is going to equal 1. So if the value is greater than 0.1, so I could say the bool series is either going to be 0 or 1. So I'm just going to set this threshold A to 0.0, and so when that bool equals true, it's going to equal 1, and I'm going to want a signal out of it. And same for the short side. I'm going to want a short signal and a long signal out of it. And that's just going to warn me. So BloodHound's going to tell me when, well, see, here we go. It's actually already working here. Price came down, and within 2 ticks, right? Here. Well, I'm going to make the text a little bigger on my chart. Let me make the text a little easier for you guys to see. And let me double check my warning color. Yes, so the value is set to 2 ticks, which matches what I set inside of BloodHound. So there we go. And I'm going to set my chart back to a 10 range. I think the 10 range is a little funner to watch. And alright, hopefully, actually, I'll set it to a 5 range. That way we'll get these warnings a little sooner. We don't have to wait for price to move so much. There we go. So look, we got a warning of a 2-tick warning here, and BloodHound fired off his signal, telling us that, you know, that price is within 2 ticks of closing. So so the reason why this was created is that some traders out there believe that, you know, that you can kind of get into the trade early, you know, if you wait for price to kind of get within 1 tick of closing the bar, you know, and they think that you can kind of jump the gun and kind of get in a little early just before the bar actually closes. And so that's what that warning signal can do inside a BloodHound, is it can kind of give you a warning, you know, that the bar is just about to close, and you can, you know, take, in my opinion, you're taking a gamble in you know, and hoping that price keeps moving. Because as you know, price could come within 1 tick of closing and then totally reverse on you and go the other direction. So, but you know, that functionality is there for, you know, those traders who like to try and get in 1 tick early. But keep in mind, you can't backtest that functionality. NinjaTrader doesn't have a way to backtest intrabar functionality like this. So you could only forward test it on live market data, or you could also test it. You could also backtest using NinjaTrader's market replay connection as well. Let's see. So let me make a slight modification here. So I think to be a little more realistic, if you're going to try and use this indicator to jump into the trade early, you'd probably just want to wait for a 1 tick warning, not a 2 tick warning. So I'm going to set on my chart, set it to a 1 tick warning. And then inside of BloodHound, I need to set it, also need to change the settings inside of BloodHound as well. So I need to go in here and set the warning color, set it also to a 1 tick warning. So like so. There we go. So we're one tick within closing. And let's see if let's kind of add some direction to this. Right, so we want, right now we can see that BloodHound's giving us a long and a short signal, right? So it's not really defining the direction of the trade. So I'll just do something real simple here. Let me create a new logic template, and so let me add the existing node onto the board here. And then I'm also going to add just a bar direction. Right? So this bar direction will tell us, you know, the direction of where the bar is going to close, the direction of the bar closing. Right? So let me connect this bar direction up. Right? So we can see when it's a down bar, we're getting a short output. When it's an up bar, we're getting a long output. So if we take both of those solvers, join them together with an AND node. So right now, so just looking at this threshold solver, right, that's looking at the Renko counter, right, we can see it's giving us both, gave us both a long and a short. As soon as I connect the bar direction into the AND node, now we can see it actually tells us the actual direction of the bar. So let's see if price is gonna move one more tick to the upside, or I'm sorry, to the downside, and there we go. So now we got a short signal there, like so, one tick before the bar actually closes. So, all right. So let's take this simple system and we'll plug it into Raven. So Leo's asking about, you know, how do you stop Raven from trading if your account hits a maximum drawdown amount for the day. So say like you want to set like a $500 maximum loss for the day. So Leo's wanting to ask how do you achieve that. So Raven doesn't have that capability built into it, right? So as I said earlier, Raven, you know, is free. That comes with BloodHound. It's very simple, very basic functionality. So it doesn't have that capability built into it, and that type of functionality, that money management functionality, has to be programmed into the strategy. So there's no way for BloodHound to know your profit and loss of a strategy. So because BloodHound is an indicator, and indicators do not have access to you know, to your systems. Let's see, let me pull up. There we go. This on the strategies tab here. So yeah, indicators don't have access to this, you know, realized profit and loss data, right? So look, just a side note, right? You probably noticed that it says realized 0, and that's because NinjaTrader doesn't track ATM trades for some reason. So you know, all this data here is calculated by NinjaTrader, and they don't track ATM P&L in their strategies, unfortunately. So that's why the realized says 0. But if I turn this on, I do believe it'll show you the unrealized. But at least, you know, but we can see here that Raven is tracking the P&L, the profit and loss for those ATM strategies that we've been firing off here. So even though NinjaTrader's not. So all right, so back to, you know, how do you set a maximum daily loss, a maximum daily loss limit for the day? And let's see. Hold on, just sorry. Let me hold that thought here while we have a while we have an actual trade on, and yeah, that's right. NinjaTrader doesn't provide any data on the strategy tab here. Although the positions tab, yeah, here we go. This is where it's at. So if you want to watch your ATM live, right, you have this position tab that you can use, and but also you can watch it here on Raven's chart trader, right? So if I click on the black box, you can see it's toggling between the different display modes. So we have currency, we have percent, and we have ticks. And I'll just leave it on currency there. All right, so getting back to the maximum drawdown limit for your account for the day to disable your auto trader. So that has to be written into the strategy. So when BloodHound version 2 comes out, we're going to work on another strategy that will have money management built into it. So I guess I will say, I don't want to get you guys' hopes up, but there is the possibility that we might have a second strategy coming out before BloodHound version 2, but it's a very gray area. We're looking into it. We're seeing if it's possible. But otherwise, really our plan is to wait for BloodHound version 2 because there's such huge changes in BloodHound version 2 that if we came out with a new strategy now, it would have to be completely rewritten again when BloodHound version 2 comes out. And that's a lot of time, that has to be spent. If we came out with a strategy now, that would just have to be rewritten again. So that's why we're kind of waiting for BloodHound version 2 to come out first. So we just have to write the software code once. All right, so yeah, so Leo, if you really want money management functionality, you can write your own strategy. So we do have a documentation page here. Let me bring up the web browser again, and so let's see. Let me go. Okay, so if you're at our home page here, you can go to support, learn BloodHound. I'll just click on learn BloodHound. Right, and it brings us to the documentation page, and once again I'll scroll down to the bottom of the menu, down here where Raven is. So down here you can see there's information on using BloodHound to write your own custom strategy. And down here there's actually some example code here. So we could look at this first example, which is a little simple example, and this BloodHound example strategy 2 is a little more advanced, but you can see that there's some example code, and then down here there's some files that you can download to get this example code. This example code that you see here is available in these two downloads, right? And if I click on custom BloodHound strategy, if I click on this link right above the example code, this actually discusses, this is really for advanced programmers. So if you're kind of a beginner programmer, this is most likely going to be above your head. But for anybody who has experience in programming, here's kind of all the methods and properties and information that you need to know on how to hook into BloodHound. So, just so you guys know, we don't offer any support on this at all. So the documentation that's here is all the support that we offer. So just as NinjaTrader doesn't offer advice on programming stuff, you know, they'll help you out with their NinjaScript, but they won't help you, you know, write your own custom indicator. You know, they don't offer programming advice, and so we don't as well. This is just it's a whole new can of worms, so to speak. But it's all there. You know, if you do have a programmer, or if you are a programmer, right, you can write your own stuff using BloodHound. All right, so let me get to a SIF's question here. All right, so a SIF would like to see how do we create a signal on every Renko bar that has a wick. All right, let me make a few changes here. First, I'm gonna kill Raven. Let's get Raven off the chart. And alright, so we want to do this on Renko bars. Alright, I want to make another change here. So I'm going to set BloodHound. Let's see, calculate on bar close. I'm going to set this back to true for BloodHound. And next, let's change our data type here. So, alright, oh, look at that. I have the BetterRenko on my chart. So how about if I put the BetterRenko on there? 5 brick. That looks good. Alright, let's make these wicks a little thicker, make them easier to see. Alright. And look here, the Renko, remember the SiRenkoCounter? So, since I changed my chart type, my bars are the BetterRenko, that doesn't work with the SiRenkoCounter, and so it's giving me a little warning here on my chart. Right? Alright, so we want to identify bars like this that have a wick. Even that guy has a little tiny wick there. Alright, let me shrink these indicators. Actually, I may not need these indicators. I'll just take them off the chart. And alright, so to find a wick, so let's kind of think this through. So in this bar here, right, I have the opening price. Let me stretch this out a little bit. Alright, so we have the opening price, and we have the low of the bar. So essentially, the low of the bar is less than the opening price. And so that's how we know that we have a wick, right? And kind of the same here. So we have the open of the bar, and the high of the bar is above the opening price of the bar. Right? That's how we know we have a wick on a down bar. So we can just check for those conditions, right? So on a down bar, we want to check to see if the high price is above the opening price of the bar. For an up bar, we're going to check to see if the low price is below the open of the bar. Alright, so let's get in here and define this. So we're going to need a couple of comparison solvers to do that. Alright, so I'm going to create a new logic template here, and alright, so we're going to find wicks on Renko, on the Renko bars. Alright, so let me start with a comparison solver. And we'll plug this guy in. And alright, so let's see, my upper price is the open. So I'll start with defining an up bar here. So the open price is going to be above the low price here. So I'm going to set my indicator A to the open price. So to get the opening price of a bar, I'm going to use Chameleon. So right down here is Chameleon. And I want the opening price. And down here in indicator B, I want to use the low price. So I will once again go down to SI Chameleon, and right here is the low bound, so we'll use the low price. And since this is an up bar, you know, let's say that I want an up, I guess a long output for an up bar. Alright, so we notice here that we're essentially getting a lot of long signals coming out here. And so right now, the way the default settings for this solver is, if we look at our description here, right, we have A is the opening price, right? Remember, we set the opening price in indicator A is greater, right, is greater than B, and B represents the low price of the bar. Remember, we put the low price of the bar down here in indicator B. So if the open is greater than B by 0 ticks, well, that's essentially equal. So that means, you know, if A is greater than B by 0 ticks, that means essentially the open price can equal the low. So we actually need to look for, you know, essentially like a 1 tick difference. So I'm just going to put 0.09 in there, just, you know, to add a little buffer. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, especially with oil doesn't always trade on the tick value. If you read the raw tick trades coming through, you'll see that oil trades in like tenths of a penny sometimes. So, you know, you could have a trade coming in here, you know, like this bar here. This bar here has a tiny little wick on it. You know, I would want to assume that that wick is at least 1 tick, but that wick could actually be like 9/10 of a tick, or it could even be half a tick, because that's just how oil trades. You know, you get trade information coming in here that isn't always on the tick. So, you know, in stating that, it might be safer just to say I'll look for a wick that's at least 1/10 of a tick or more, and that'll tell me that there's a wick on there. You know, maybe you want to know if there's more of a full-sized wick. You know, so if you're looking for at least like a 1 tick wick, and you're not worried about, you know, these tenths of a penny trades that happen in oil, then I could bump it back up to 9/10 of a tick. So because quite easily, what could look like a 1-tick wick could actually only be like 0.99 ticks of a wick. So we'll leave it at 0.9. And let me click off of here. Alright, so now you can see my display is updated. So now we have A, the open price, is greater than B, the low price, by 9/10 of a tick. And we still have this 0 ticks. So I don't want 0 ticks. I want there to be a wick. So I'm going to set that to 0. And let's set the shorts to 0. I don't think I'm actually going to use the shorts here. And alright, so there's that part. Now you'll notice that on these down bars here, right, on these down bars, let's see, yeah, these down bars, let's see, yeah, the open, right, the open is right there, and on a down bar the low is always less, right, the low is always lower than the open of the bar on a down bar. So so this this statement that we're checking for right here on up bars is always true on a down bar. So we need to filter out these down bars in the statement. So I think what we can do this simply just by using the bar direction. Right, let's use the bar direction. And I'll grab an AND node. Plug that in there. Plug the bar direction. And so now the bar direction basically ensures that this comparison solver I set up only being calculated on up bars. So there we go. Let me scroll through here. Okay, so here we go. Here's an up bar with no wick, right? And it's not been identified, right? There's no output, no signal on this bar here with no wick. And same over here. Another up bar with no wick. So, all right. So next, let's define this down bar. Let's define the logic for this down bar here. Okay, so I guess first let me give this solver a name, right? So this is checking the open to the low. So we're simply comparing the open price to the low price. Actually, there we go. Open above the low. So and even something even further I could do. I really don't need to, but since this comparison solver is essentially, it's only going to give us let's see, it's only going to give us long signals for up bars. If I wanted to, just to be extra cautious, I could set this solver so it only produces a long only output if I wanted to. Or probably more appropriately, how about if I just turn off, I could just turn off all of the short outputs, so now they're all set to 0, so I won't get any short outputs, right? So let's take a look here. So normally that used to be set to 1. Let's see if there's any alright, yeah, it doesn't look like it'll, yeah, it doesn't look like it's ever going to give me a short output. But you know, just so you know, if I don't want any short outputs from this solver, I can just set this to 0 as well. So there's kind of two ways to do that, right? I could use the evaluate, or I could just turn off all the short outputs. So. Alright, so let's create another comparison solver. And this time, right, we're going to look for down bars. We're going to find down bars with a wick on them. So let me take this new solver, plug it in to the result node, and so this time I'm going to be comparing, see, the high price is going to be above, it's going to be greater, so well, let's read the short output, right? So the default output settings for the solver is, right, A is less than B. So in our situation, you know, which is the open less than the high, or is the high less than the open? And so in this case, the open is less or lower than the high price. So since this is the default setting for the short output, A less than B, let's put A will be the open price. So the open price will be less than the high price of B. So we'll put the open price in A and the high price in B. So once again, I'm going to be comparing the open is below the high price. Alright. So we'll put the open in here in indicator A. Set this to Chameleon and set it to the open price. And in indicator B, we'll set this to the high. And alright, the high price is already selected for us. Good enough. And we're not interested in any long outputs for this solver since we're working with down bars. And we're going to need to use this bar direction again. So if you look, see all these up bars, right? We're getting a short signal in all these up bars. So let's use this bar direction again to filter out up bars. So let me grab a AND node, connect that in there, and connect that solver in. Okay, so now we can see we're only getting a short signal on down bars now. And down bars with a wick. So I'm going to look for some down bars that don't have a wick. And, oh, looky here. So hopefully you guys noticed that I missed a step. I overlooked a step. So here's a down bar with no wicks. And if you remember, I didn't go in here and I didn't set my large amount. So let's set that back to 0.9 ticks, 9/10 of a tick. And I need to clear this short output, set it to 0. So now if we read the description, right, A less than B by 0 ticks is turned off, set to 0, but A, so the open price is less than the high price by 9/10 of a tick. we have the output turned on. And we look on our chart, there we go. So there's no short signal on this bar or this bar. This bar here doesn't have a wick either. Alright. And the final step is we need to connect both of those AND nodes together with an OR node. There we go. Okay, so if we look at this, there we go. We got 2 bars here with no wicks. We got 1 bar here with no wick. So this guy has a little tiny wick. So these have little tiny wicks, you know, about 1/10. Alright, here's a couple more bars with no wicks. Okay, so yeah, so there we go. Alright, as if that'll do it for you. And you know, so as if it really doesn't matter which bar type you use. This will work on the Renko as well. So there you go. So this code will work on any Renko bar. All right. I don't think it probably won't work on minute bars. Let's put a 3-minute bar on here. And yeah, it doesn't quite work on minute bars like this guy right here. This is a down bar and it has a wick on the bottom, right? So Renko bars are unique. So a down Renko bar is never going to have a bottom wick, right? But a minute bar would. So you know, so this logic is really only geared to working on a Renko type bar, not a minute type bar. If we wanted this to work on a minute type bar, we'd have to add another set of logic that looks for lower wicks and upper wicks, right? So like here we go, here's a perfect example. We have bars here that have wicks on the top and wicks on the bottom, so that would require another set of logic. It would be very similar to what I already did, but we just had to add another set of logic there. Okay, let's see, I'll move on here. And let's see, yeah, Asif is asking how about range bars. So yeah, same thing. Asif, if I change this, how about if I'll make it a 10 range. Actually, you know, range bars, that's right, range bars do, range bars always close on either the bottom of the bar or the top of the bar. Right, the same as a Renko bar. Renko bars always close at the top of the bar or the bottom of the bar. So this code actually does work on a range bar, since range bars always close at the top or the bottom of the bar. So this does actually work. So, all right, so Gunter wanted to add some extra logic to the BloodHound logic I made for the SiRenkoCounter. All right, let's go back to the first one I made, right? The SiRenkoCounter logic here. So Gunter wanted to add some logic. Let's see. So Gunter, I kind of need a little more detail. All right, yeah, see there were 2 separate questions. Yeah, so Gunter, your question here, it says, can you give me also some logic with the EMA 10 for a 15-minute with this strategy? Can you give me some, so I need some more information on exactly what you really want to do here. So I guess you're wanting to see an example of using multiple time frames. Okay, sure. Yeah, if I wanted to add some simple logic here. Let's see. Alright, so if we wanted to, alright, so I guess if we want to see if the EMA 10 is pointing up or pointing down on a 15-minute chart, alright, so we'll add a chart here, use the chart button to add a chart, and we'll add a 15-minute chart there. Right, so we'll take the slope of the EMA 10. Alright, so I have a slope solver on here, and it's going to be our EMA 10, and I'll switch this over to our EMA. Alright, change our period to a 10. Alright, so now that's really all we needed to do to check the slope of the EMA 10. Now, you'll notice on the chart here we have this little warning or this message that we need to refresh our chart. Right, so we have to refresh the chart in order to get NinjaTrader to build this 15-minute data here. So let's refresh the chart like so. And alright, so the next step is I need to add this solver to my logic here. Actually, Gunter, I guess you're not wanting to add to this, so let me just I'll just create a new logic template here, and well, actually, hold on. Let me delete this, and I'm going to take. Here we go. All right, so this the set of logic that I made for SIF, I'll take this and I'll copy it. So we got a copy here. And I'll just change the name. So alright, so we got the EMA 10 on a 15-minute chart here. So what I'll do is just go to our existing nodes, and we can see I have a 15-minute section now with that slope solver on it. Grab that, and if I just look at this slope solver here, let's take a look at the chart. So apparently on the 15-minute chart, there we go, the EMA was sloping up, and we can see here the EMA was sloping down. And sloped up for a little bit and sloped back down, so we can see where, you know, the slope of the EMA is on the 15-minute chart there. So if I want to add, you know, the slope of the EMA as a filter, you know, to this set of logic that we have here. Alright, so we can see, yeah, we can see, you know, we have some short signals on these down bars with wicks. If I look at, yeah, the slope of the EMA, here, let me, where'd that go? Okay, here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify when the EMA is in a downslope. like so. Okay, so those boxes are just identifying when the EMA is in an upslope or a downslope. Shrink the chart up a little bit. So if I add another AND node, connect that in, connect that up, and then as soon as I plug the EMA slope in, we can see now that all these short signals here were filtered out, and all the long signals here were filtered out in this area. So, alright, I'll disconnect it, and there we go. Connect the 15-minute EMA 10 back up, and there we go. I added our filter. So, alright, I hope that's kind of what you're looking for, Gunter. Alright, Gunter's got another question about Chameleon here. So let's put Chameleon on here. Alright, so Gunter has a question regarding Chameleon's SMA smoothing feature here, and so you'll notice that some of these say SMA, some of these say bounds, and so this SMA, while it's technically, it's not an SMA, but what it's doing is, if you see this look back period, right, if we change this look back period, we can kind of smooth out this look back period. So let me change that. I'll change it to 10. And so you notice that the high and the low doesn't actually say SMA. It says bounds. But the closing price, the mid price, the open price, right, all these others do say SMA. So let me kind of give you a visual demonstration here of what that does. So I'm going to have to turn the high and the low off, because those don't have an SMA. Right, turn those off, and how about if we use the median? Alright, I'll turn the median on. We'll set it to white. There we go. So I'm turning the high and the low price off on this second Chameleon that I've added on the chart. And once again, we'll use the median, and this time I'll set it to red. And let me make these plots a little thicker. Alright. So the median line that's going to be white has a look back set to 1. Okay, this other Chameleon has a look back set to 10, and I colored it red. So yeah, so you can see it is it is smoothing out price. So you can use it for an SMA, of that particular price. It's kind of hard to describe it, because that really wasn't its purpose. That really wasn't the purpose of Chameleon. The reason why we really put a look back period is really for the high and low functionality. So let me try and explain what that look back was designed to do. It was really designed for the high and low bounds, but if you apply this look back, when you change this look back, obviously it gets applied to all the plots, to all the formulas. So I'll set the look back to 10 right on this third Chameleon, and I'm just going to leave the highs and lows on there. Well, and click OK. And so, all right, let's take this low point right here. Right, and there we go. Okay, so if we take this low point, right, we can see that the hash lines, all right, the red ones are marking the low prices. And so that look back period is essentially, it's identifying the lowest low looking back 10 bars. And then as we go forward, as we go forward again 1 bar, what we're doing is we're looking back 10 bars, and we can see that, there, let me draw another arrow. So from this bar, as we look back 10 bars, right, this is the lowest low looking back 10 bars. So really that look back period was more a function of having this identifying the lowest low and the highest highs looking back, but of course that formula applies to all the other prices. And when you're looking at the median, you can't say what's the lowest, who's to say that we want to find the lowest price of the median or the highest price of the median, right? It's the median. So we essentially had to convert that look back period into an SMA and basically smooth the other prices, just to do something. You can't say that the median should be looked for the lowest median price or the highest median price. So we just smoothed it. So yeah. If you're wanting to, let's see, if you're wanting to, let's say you're wanting to find the EMA of the low price, right? So if you want to find the EMA of the low price, let's see, I think the way that you can do that in NinjaTrader, actually, no, here, I'll do the HMA. We'll do something different here. We'll do the HMA, and yeah, this guy is set to cyan. So you know that if you want to get the HMA 21 of the low price, we can go into our input series and just pick the low price, and we're done. Right? And so there's our cyan line there. All right, so the HMA of the low price. Well, so if you want to do that inside of BloodHound, that's what Chameleon is for. So let me open up BloodHound here. And so let's look at the slope. We'll look at the slope of this HMA 21 of the low price. So what I'll do is I'll add another slope solver. Add that on there. So this is going to be the HMA 21 of the low price. So let's go into our indicator here, change this SMA to an HMA. All right, so we're going to go find our HMA. There we go. Add that on there. And so now to get to feed the low price into the HMA, we're going to jump down here to Chameleon, and we're going to nest it. So you see this nested input button, we're going to nest it into there. So you can see Chameleon is now nested into the HMA. And in Chameleon, we want to use the low price. So let's select the low price, feed the low price into the HMA, and that's how we do that. And let me I'll create a new logic template here, right? So the HMA 21 of the low, and we're looking at the slope. So drop that existing solver on the board here, plug it in, and there we go. So we can see when the HMA changes direction, we can see the slope solver is telling us if the HMA is sloping down or if it's sloping up. Okay, alright, good. Alright, so it looks like that answered Gunter's question there. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so Jim's asking, is this SiRenkoCounter a new tool? Yes, it is. It came with the new version, with the latest update. So it's, just to show you, it's in your indicator list. So if we go to indicators, and it is the SiRenkoCounter. Right, so we'll go down to SI, where all the shark indicators are, and you'll see, there we go, there's the SiRenkoCounter. So that's where it's at. Alright, it looks like one last question or two from Leo, and we'll wrap it up here. Let's see. So Leo's asking to update from version 1.205 to 1.210. Do I have to manage license deactivate? No. No, you do not have to deactivate when you upgrade. So your license is essentially, it's locked to your computer. So when you upgrade BloodHound, the new version of BloodHound will just go, it'll find those licensing files and say, oh, I'm already licensed, I'm good to go. So you only deactivate. So let me go into the license manager. So the only time you would want to deactivate is when you need to put BloodHound on a new computer or a different computer. Okay, that's the only time you want to deactivate. So let's cancel this. So and so if you say you bought yourself a nice brand new Falcon computer and you want to move all your shark indicator software over to your Falcon computer, you can just go through each product that you have licensed. You just go into the product and deactivate it, and then you can move it over. So, well guys, that's it. So you guys have a good weekend.